Welcome to the Your Planning Assistant channel. Today, I'll introduce you to my Freelancer income and expense tracker, a powerful yet simple tool designed especially for freelancers, creators, influencers, and small business owners. First things first, every template comes with detailed step-by-step instructions. I recommend taking a moment to read them before you start. Here you'll learn how to set up the file, customize it to your needs, and understand how the automatic warnings and alerts work. Let's begin with the setup sheet. Here you can choose your currency from 10 options, or leave it without a symbol. I'll select Euros. Pick a color theme. The whole template updates instantly. I'll choose purple. Set your invoice tax rate, for example, 21%. Set your profit tax rate, the rate you pay to your government for your profit, for example 25%. You can also customize warning thresholds for unpaid invoices. For example, set 1 for the first warning and 2 for the critical warning. In that case, if the client will have no unpaid invoices, then no warning will show up, no color change. If the client will have 1 unpaid invoice, the corresponding cell in the client sheet will turn yellow, and pink if there will be 2 or more unpaid invoices for that client. Next, you define your expense categories, like advertising, subscriptions, or travel. You can also add projects, for example, website copy or Instagram content. The template will automatically calculate ABC analysis once you have data. Finally, you can preset job descriptions for the invoice maker. For example, social media post, 1 image plus text, or product description, 200 words. Add the unit type, hourly or per piece, and the price. 50 euros for a post, 60 euros for a product description. Now I will add more data so later we can better see the template in action. Let's go to Translations sheet. This isn't only for translations. It also lets you rename or adjust text labels. For example, if you change all time to X's, you'll see that update instantly across the dashboard. So you can fully adapt the template into any language or use it to personalize field names. Now let's look at the clients sheet. At first, it's blank except for one example. But here you'll build your full client list. You can enter the client's company name, address, city, country, contact person, phone number, and email. The great thing is, once you've added this information, it automatically appears in your invoices. All you need to do is select the client name from a drop-down, and everything else fills in on its own. This sheet also gives you useful insights about your clients. It includes ABC analysis to help you understand which clients bring the most value. It tracks the number of outstanding invoices, and as we set up earlier, the sheet highlights overdue clients. More than 1 unpaid invoice equals yellow warning. More than 2 equals critical pink warning. You'll also see the total income earned from each client and their share of your overall revenue. These percentages update automatically once you start recording real data. Right now, since the template is still mostly empty, some of the graphs and bars might look a bit strange, but don't worry. As soon as you begin adding income and expenses, everything will display correctly and give you clear insights. Now I will add more data so later we can better see the template in action. Now let's learn how to create an invoice. Go to the invoice print sheet. You'll notice it looks a little different from the other sheets because it's designed for professional, print-ready invoices. The first step is to fill in the basic invoice details. For example, the date and invoice number. You instantly will notice that all that information automatically appears in the print area for the invoice. Next, you'll want to add your logo. This is something you only need to do once. To insert your logo, unprotect the sheet. The password is provided in the user guide. Then click on the logo placeholder cell, go to Insert Picture, and upload your logo from your computer. Adjust it so it fits neatly into the space, and then protect the sheet again. This way the logo stays in place and can't be accidentally moved or deleted. From now on, it will appear automatically on every invoice. After that, add your company information. Enter your business name, address, and any other details you'd like to display. You only need to do this once. The information will always stay saved and will show up in the invoice print area. If you prefer to leave a field blank, just type a space and it will remain empty. Now, when you select a client from the drop-down list, all their details, like address and email, will be filled in automatically from your client sheet. You can also assign a project, or leave it empty if you don't need it. Add a description or payment terms if required. Once entered, they'll also stay saved for all new invoices. Next, let's add invoice items or services. For example, enter a date and then choose a service from the drop-down list of jobs you set up earlier in the setup sheet. The description, unit, and price will appear automatically. Simply add the quantity, and the totals, including tax, are instantly calculated. You can also adjust a price just for that specific invoice if needed, without changing your standard rates. For example, this time I'll change the amount to €60, and you can see that tax, subtotals, and totals update right away. There's also space for notes. You can type any message you like, or leave it blank by typing a space. Discounts are supported too. For example, add a 50% discount, and the calculations adjust automatically. At the bottom, there's an additional notes area if you want to include special instructions. If not, you can leave it empty. And that's it. In just a few steps, you have a professional, customizable, and print-ready invoice generated directly from the template. Once invoices are issued, you can manage them in the invoice tracker. Go to the invoice tracker sheet. Here you add the client, project, date, invoice number, amount, and due date. The system automatically flags unpaid, overdue, or partially paid invoices. Visual indicators clearly show which invoices are waiting, overdue, or settled. Okay, I've now added more invoice data covering 2023, 2024, and part of 2025, so we have about 3 years of examples. At the moment, all of these invoices show as unpaid or delayed, because we haven't entered any payments yet in the income and expenses sheet. So let's move over there and start recording some actual payments and expenses. Here, everything is still empty except for one example. So let's start by adding some expenses. For instance, on 15th of April 2023, I'll record a payment of €280.68 for the website copy project, and the payment is for the internet. Don't worry about these amounts. They're just fictional examples. The important thing is that each entry only requires a few fields. The invoice number, date, amount, project, optional, and an expense category. When a client pays an invoice, you'll use the first category in the drop-down list, income, to log it. That's how the system knows it's revenue, not an expense. For now, let's add a few more example records so we have data to work with. Okay, I've now added a bit more data, both expenses and some income. Here you can see one income entry, which means a client has paid one of our invoices. The invoice numbers match the ones we entered earlier in the invoice tracker, so everything stays connected. With this sample, I've covered about 2.5 years of transactions. This will give us enough data to later check how everything looks in the dashboard. Now let's go back to the invoice tracker. As you can see, some invoices are marked as paid on time, some show as partially paid, and others are still delayed. It's that simple. This sheet gives you a clear overview of which invoices are settled, which are pending, and which need your attention. And now, if we return to the clients sheet, you can clearly see the difference between clients. Some are great clients. They bring in a lot of income, pay on time, and have no outstanding invoices. Others also generate good revenue, but as you can see, they currently have 2 unpaid invoices. That's a helpful signal for you to follow up and ask why the payments are delayed. For example, let's check one specific client, Nordic Nest AB. It has 2 unpaid invoices. We can quickly filter the list to find their unpaid invoices in the invoice tracker sheet. Here we see an invoice that hasn't been paid yet. Now let's imagine the client has finally paid it. I'll add the invoice number, client, and project information. At first, since the amount isn't entered, the tracker marks it as incomplete payment. Once we add the amount and the payment date, let's say today, the status updates automatically. It now shows the invoice was delayed, but payment has been received. As you can see, back in the client sheet, this client now has only 1 outstanding invoice instead of 2. And now comes the interesting part. Let's move on to the dashboard. Here on the dashboard, all of your data is summarized in one place. You can select any year. Let's choose 2024 since we have more entries there. Right away you'll see the top 5 clients for that year, the top 5 projects by income, the top 5 projects by profit, and the top 5 expenses. Each month shows income, expenses, tax, and net profit. The tax is calculated automatically, based on the rate we set earlier in the setup sheet. Let's try switching to 2023. You can see how everything updates instantly. Switching back to 2024, we notice that cumulative profit is negative. Expenses were higher than income that year. You can also drill down into clients. For example, one client paid more in the first half of the year, while another paid at the start and then at the end of that year 2024. These views are updated automatically. There's also a quarterly overview, showing income, expenses, profit, estimated tax, profit after tax, and profit margin for each quarter. And here's the quick stats section, one of the most valuable parts of the dashboard. It shows, for the selected period, total income, best and worst months, total expenses, estimated tax, net profit, profit margin, number of invoices issued and paid, outstanding invoices and amounts, average invoice amount. It also includes all-time insights across multiple years, like total number of clients, your most regular client, most profitable client, average income per client, number of projects, and which projects were best or worst. If you switch from yearly to monthly view by selecting specific month from the drop-down right under the cell you enter the year, all charts and tables adjust to that specific month. For example, in April, you'll see detailed daily data, while in July or September, the charts update to reflect income and expenses for those months. Everything here updates automatically, so you always know exactly where your business stands. Just choose the period. If we go back to the setup sheet, you'll notice that the ABC calculations for your projects have also been generated automatically. So that's the Freelancer income and expense tracker. Easy setup, automated calculations, clear client and project insights, professional invoices, and a dashboard that shows you everything at a glance. I hope this walkthrough showed you how easy it is to stay on top of your finances with this template. If you already have the template and enjoy using it, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a positive review. It really helps others discover it. And if you don't have it yet, you can get your own copy today in our Etsy store. You'll find the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you success in managing your freelance finances more easily and with less stress.